He never knew why his girlfriend's dog hated him, especially whenever he kissed her, until their wedding day, when he walked in on them doing something unimaginable. It was Lucy's wedding night. She arrived at the hotel with her dog, Brutus, a strong, dark, and serious-looking bulldog. A black car stopped in front of a fancy hotel near the beach. The door opened, and Lucy stepped out with her big dog, Brutus. He stayed close to her, his tail still, eyes sharp. Lucy was excited. Tomorrow was her wedding day. Alex, her husband-to-be, came out from the hotel doors. He smiled when he saw her and walked quickly to hug her. He gave her a kiss on the cheek. But then, growling, "Woof! Woof!" Brutus barked loudly and jumped forward, biting Alex's trouser leg. He growled and pulled hard. "Brutus, stop it!" Lucy shouted, trying to pull him back. Alex shook his leg and quickly stepped behind Lucy. He looked scared and angry. "Why do you always bring this dog with you?" Alex snapped. "He nearly bit me." "I'm sorry, baby," Lucy said gently. "I just don't want him to feel lonely." "But why does he get so mad every time I kiss you?" Alex asked, still annoyed. "Oh, come on," Lucy said with a small laugh. "He's just a dog. He's protective. That's all." "No," Alex said, breathing heavily. "He's always angry at me. He's not like that with anyone else. I don't like it." Lucy touched his hand. "It's okay. Let's not talk about Brutus now. Let's talk about us. It's our big day tomorrow." She smiled and pulled Alex toward the hotel. One of the hotel workers came and took Brutus' leash, walking behind them. Alex stayed quiet as Lucy talked about the wedding plans. He kept looking at Brutus from time to time. In the elevator, Alex turned to Lucy and said, "We can't live with that dog after we get married. He doesn't like me. He scares me." Lucy looked surprised. "He'll get used to you. He just needs more time." "We've been together for months," Alex said, "and it's only getting worse." "It'll be fine," Lucy said. "Please, let's just enjoy tonight." "No worries." The elevator doors opened to their hotel room. When Lucy walked in, she gasped. The room was big and beautiful. There were flowers everywhere, balloons floating near the ceiling, and a big sign on the wall that said, "Last night before you say I do." Gifts and drinks were placed nicely on the table. "Oh my gosh. Alex, this is amazing," Lucy said, hugging him tightly. Alex gave a small smile, but his eyes went straight to Brutus, who now sat quietly in the corner of the room, still staring at him without blinking. Lucy didn't notice. She was too happy. She had no idea that something terrible was going to happen that night, something that would shake everything. Lucy wrapped her arms around Alex and smiled. "I love you, babe," she whispered softly into his ear. Alex held her close. "I love you too," he said, brushing her hair behind her ear. "You're everything to me." They stood like that for a moment, warm, quiet, and still. It felt like time stopped. It felt perfect. Then suddenly, Alex's phone rang. He looked at the screen and sighed with a grin. "It's the groomsmen. They just got here. I need to go meet them downstairs." "Go ahead," Lucy said, giving him a kiss. "Tell them I said hi." Alex kissed her again and stepped out of the room, leaving Lucy alone with Brutus, who was now lying near the bed, calm but alert. She closed the door and smiled to herself, humming softly as she walked to the mirror to touch up her hair. Downstairs, Alex met his groomsmen and his best friend Jack in the hotel lobby. The guys were excited, laughing and joking. But they weren't alone. They came prepared. They had balloons, gift boxes, a trumpet player, and even someone carrying a big, heart-shaped cake. It was a surprise celebration for Lucy. Alex beamed. He held a bouquet of fresh red roses in his hand. "This is going to make her smile so much," he said proudly. The team followed him up the hallway. They stopped a few feet away from Lucy's room. "Okay," Alex whispered. "Here's the plan. When she opens the door, I'll give her the flowers. The trumpet guy plays, then you all follow in with the gifts. Simple, right?" "Got it," Jack said, smiling. "She's gonna love it." Alex turned toward the door, heart full of joy. He raised his hand to knock. But then, he heard something. Laughter. Lucy's laughter. From inside the room. He paused, hand frozen midair. Her voice was clear through the door. She was talking on the phone. "Can you believe that Alex said he doesn't want Brutus around after the wedding?" Lucy laughed hard. "He thinks Brutus is just too aggressive toward him." Alex raised an eyebrow, confused. He lowered his hand slowly. Lucy kept talking. "He doesn't even realize Brutus is just jealous. That dog thinks I'm his baby. He doesn't want to share me with anyone." More laughter. Playful. Carefree. But then, the words that followed hit Alex like a punch to the stomach. You know, Alex is always busy with work, and he can't even satisfy me like Brutus does. Alex blinked. What? His mouth slowly fell open. He took a step back from the door. The bouquet in his hand began to tremble. His heart started beating faster. Too fast. Inside the room, Lucy kept talking, her voice growing softer but sharper. He's too weak, too boring. If it wasn't for his money, I would have never stayed this long. Alex's hands began to sweat. His throat went dry. I'll marry him, Lucy said coldly. Then I'll divorce him and take half of everything. That's the plan. Alex felt the blood drain from his face. His legs almost gave way. And once that's done, she added with a dreamy sigh, I'll go straight to Michael. He's the only man I've ever truly loved. Crash. The flowers slipped from Alex's hand and hit the hallway floor. Jack and the others looked up in shock. The trumpet player froze, confused. But Alex didn't say a word. He just stood there, staring at the door, as if it had turned into a wall of fire. His whole world was burning behind it. The woman he loved. The wedding he dreamed of. All of it a lie. Inside the room, Lucy laughed again. But outside, Alex's heart was breaking. Jack stood a few steps away with the surprise team, holding a wrapped box in his hands, when he saw the bouquet drop from Alex's fingers. Alex, he called softly. What's going on? Alex slowly turned around, and that's when they all saw it. Tears. Heavy tears filling his eyes, rolling down his cheeks like rain. Alex, what's wrong? Jack asked again, this time louder. The trumpet guy looked confused. The gift bearers went silent. But Alex didn't say a word. He didn't even blink. He just turned and walked away, leaving the flowers crushed on the floor. Alex, Jack called again, running a few steps toward him. But Alex kept walking, head low, heart shattered, and lips sealed. His tears didn't stop, and no one, not even his best friend, understood what had just happened. That night was the worst night of Alex's life. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. He sat on the edge of his hotel bed, staring at the floor, hands shaking, eyes swollen from crying. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard her voice again. I'll just marry him, then divorce and take half his money. Alex can't satisfy me like Brutus does. Michael is the one I truly love. His chest hurt. His heart was broken beyond words. What kind of woman was he about to marry? How could someone plan something so evil and still smile like nothing was wrong? But then came another pain, the shame. Everyone was waiting. The wedding was only hours away. His family had flown in. The money he spent, thousands of dollars. The suits. The venue. The guests. The gifts. The expectations. How could he cancel now? How could he face everyone and say, she's not who I thought she was? His head dropped into his hands, and he cried harder. Outside his door, Jack and the groomsmen were knocking. Alex, open the door, please, Jack begged. What's wrong? Talk to us. But Alex didn't answer. He didn't move. He just sat there in silence, surrounded by the sound of his own pain. Morning came. The sun was shining. Birds were singing. But Alex's world was still dark. To everyone's surprise, he got up quietly. No one saw him cry anymore, but his eyes were empty. He showered, shaved, wore his suit. He looked like a groom, but he didn't smile. Not once. The groomsmen followed him around, worried. Are you sure you're okay? They asked. Alex just gave one answer, over and over. I'm fine. But he wasn't. They arrived at the grand wedding hall. Huge chandeliers, gold chairs, soft music playing. The place looked like a palace. Guests were already seated. Cameras were flashing. Everything looked perfect. Alex walked in, cold and quiet. He didn't wave. He didn't greet anyone. He simply went straight to his seat in front of the altar and sat down. People whispered, wondering what was wrong. Then, minutes later, the bride arrived. Lucy entered the hall, looking like a dream. Her gown sparkled under the lights. She smiled proudly, holding her bouquet as she walked with her bridesmaids. People clapped. Phones clicked. Some even stood in awe. She looks like a queen, someone whispered. Lucy walked down the aisle and sat beside Alex. She leaned in to whisper something sweet. But Alex didn't respond. He didn't even look at her. His face was calm. Too calm. The smile slowly faded from Lucy's lips. The wedding began. The officiator stood tall, ready to speak. But before he could say a word, Alex lifted his hand. Wait, Alex said. Everyone turned to him. He reached out and asked for the microphone. "I have a surprise for my wife-to-be," he said in a strong, clear voice. The crowd cheered and clapped. Lucy smiled wide, thinking it was another gift. Maybe flowers. Maybe a song. She loved surprises. But behind her, the groomsmen looked worried. They glanced at each other nervously. Jack leaned forward in his chair. Something didn't feel right. Alex stood in front of everyone. His face was unreadable, his voice calm, but with something heavy hiding underneath. What he was about to say would break the room in half. Without saying another word, Alex slowly turned to the media team standing by the stage. He gave them a quiet signal with his hand. They paused for a second, confused. Then one of them nodded and pressed play. The wedding hall fell silent. You could hear the sound of a pin drop. Even the children stopped moving. Everyone leaned in, expecting a love song or sweet message. But what came next shook the entire hall. Alex is always busy with work, and besides, he can't satisfy me like Brutus does. Laughter. He's too weak. Honestly, I would never have been with him if he wasn't rich. I'll marry him, then divorce him and take half of everything he owns. After that, I'll be with Michael, the real love of my life. Gasps filled the room. People turned to each other in shock. Guests covered their mouths. Some dropped their phones. A few women looked away, shaking their heads. Whispers broke out like wildfire. She said, "What? Is that really Lucy's voice? Oh my God." Lucy stood there frozen, her hands shaking, her legs weak. Her smile disappeared. Her face turned pale. She looked down, too ashamed to meet anyone's eyes. She could feel every stare burning through her like fire. She wanted the ground to open and swallow her. Alex stood still, eyes locked on the crowd, heart pounding. He was trying to hold it together, but the pain was too much. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a pair of dark sunglasses. With trembling hands, he put them on, not to look cool, but to hide the tears that were now fighting to fall. Lucy took a step back. She couldn't breathe. People were still whispering. Some were recording. Others were just stunned. Then, without a word, Lucy collapsed to the ground and faint. Alex didn't touch her. He didn't even move. He just adjusted his glasses, took a deep breath, and walked out of the wedding hall with his head held high. The moment he left, the room exploded with noise. People stood up. Others rushed outside. Some shouted, some gasped. The once beautiful wedding venue was now in complete chaos. Flowers were stepped on. Chairs were knocked over. But no one cared. All eyes were on the groom who had just exposed the biggest lie of his life. When Alex got home, the silence of the house felt louder than all the noise from the wedding. He closed the door behind him slowly. Then he fell face down on the bed, his suit still on, the glasses still in his pocket. He finally let go, and he cried. He cried like a baby. Not just tears, but deep, painful sobs. Tears soaked the pillow. His chest shook with every breath. His heart felt like it was breaking piece by piece. He couldn't believe it. She had used him, lied to him, planned to destroy him, all while smiling and calling him babe. Outside, friends and family came to the door. They knocked, begged, and called out his name. "Alex, please open up. Let us in, bro. We're here for you, man." But Alex didn't answer. He didn't move. He just laid there, broken and silent. Days passed. Alex didn't eat. He didn't go to work. He ignored every call, every knock, every message. He stayed indoors, drowning in pain. He kept replaying the audio in his head. The laughter, the betrayal. He stared at the ceiling, asking himself over and over, "Why me? What did I do to deserve this?" Weeks passed. The sun came and went. But inside, it always felt like night. His family tried everything. Friends came with food. Jack even brought a counselor. But Alex refused. His body was weak, but his mind was busy, burning with one thought. How do I make her feel what I felt? How do I get revenge in a way she'll never forget? And how will I ever find someone who loves me for me? Not my money, not my name, not what I have, but for who I truly am. He didn't have the answers yet. But one thing was sure. He wasn't going to stay broken forever. Something in him had changed. And when he stood again, he wouldn't be the same Alex. After the shame and heartbreak, Alex just wanted to disappear. He was tired of the stares, tired of people pointing fingers, tired of whispers that followed him everywhere he went. Some people acted like they felt sorry for him, but most just laughed behind his back. He had become the groom who got betrayed at the altar, a walking headline, a joke to many. So Alex made a decision to leave everything behind. He packed a few clothes. No luxury, no noise. Just silence. He didn't tell anyone. Not even Jack. He moved to a small developing city, far from the spotlight, where nobody knew his name. He rented a simple one-bedroom house in a quiet area. The streets were dusty. The people were friendly. It wasn't fancy, but it gave him peace. He stopped using expensive clothes. No designer shoes. No gold watch. He started living like a normal man, an average man. Each day, he'd walk to the market, the roadside stores, or the nearby cafe. No cameras. No rumors. No more whispers. Just fresh air and new beginnings. It wasn't easy, but it was better than living in pain. One cloudy afternoon, as Alex walked down a busy street, he crossed a muddy corner to get to the store. Just then, virolem, a car sped past him. Splash. A wave of dirty water flew up and soaked him from head to toe. Alex stood still, dripping, muddy, embarrassed. He looked like someone who had fallen in a gutter. The car skidded to a stop just ahead. A young woman quickly jumped out. "I'm so sorry, sir," she said, rushing toward him. "I didn't see the water. I was rushing. Please forgive me." Alex looked up slowly. Her voice was soft. Her face looked worried. "It's fine," he said calmly, wiping mud off his arm. But she didn't stop. She ran to her car, opened the back door, and pulled out a clean towel. Then she came back and gently tried to clean the mud from his clothes. "It's okay," Alex repeated. "You can go where you were heading. I'll be fine." "Are you sure?" she asked, still looking guilty. He nodded. "Thank you," she whispered and smiled. Then she rushed back into her car and drove off. Alex stood there in the street for a moment, soaked, cold, but completely shocked. She was kind, he whispered to himself. Not many people would do that. I should have asked her name or her number. But it was too late. She was gone. Weeks passed. Alex kept thinking about her. That stranger with the kind eyes and the warm towel. He didn't even know her name. Then one Saturday afternoon, Alex walked out of a local mall holding a grocery bag. Just as he reached the front steps, he froze. There she was. The same girl. She was standing outside the mall, laughing with a friend. She had a simple dress on, her hair tied up in a bun. She looked even more beautiful in the daylight. Alex stepped closer, his heart racing. She turned, and their eyes met. "Oh, it's you," she said, smiling. "I didn't expect to see you again," Alex said, trying not to look too excited. They laughed. "This is my best friend, Emma," she said, pointing beside her. "And I'm Caroline. What's your name again?" "I'm Alex." "It's nice to finally meet you properly, Alex." They chatted for a few minutes. The mood was light and sweet. This time, Alex didn't miss his chance. "Can I have your number?" he asked. Caroline smiled and handed him her phone. He typed in his number and saved hers. From that day forward, they talked often. Morning texts, evening calls, weekend chats. For the first time since the wedding disaster, Alex felt something warm inside his chest again. It wasn't full love yet, but it was something. A spark. Caroline was different. She listened when he talked. She asked questions about his life, but never about his past. She was gentle, funny, and honest. And she never judged him. But what Alex didn't know was that the storm he had faced before was only the beginning. One evening, after a long phone call, Alex finally asked her, "Would you be free to go out with me this weekend? I'd love to take you somewhere special." Caroline laughed lightly. "Yes, I'd love to." Then her voice became a little softer. Would it be okay if I bring someone along?" she asked. "Who?" Alex asked, curious. "My best friend. Emma. The one you saw with me at the mall." Alex paused for a moment. "Oh, sure. That's fine." "Are you sure?" Caroline asked again. "Yeah," Alex said with a small laugh. "It's no problem." But deep inside, something in his chest whispered, "Be careful." And he had no idea that this little decision, this simple yes, would lead to the most shocking twist of his life. The day finally came. Alex woke up early, a little nervous, but excited. He wore a clean shirt and combed his hair neatly. He didn't have much anymore, but he still wanted to make a good impression. He got into his small, old car. It was far from fancy. The paint was fading, the radio didn't work, and it made a strange sound when it started. But it moved, and that was enough for him. He drove slowly across town, following the directions Caroline had sent. When he arrived at her house, he honked once and stepped out with a smile. Caroline looked out the window and saw the car. Her smile faded instantly. She turned to Emma, her friend. Is this the car he brought? She said, frowning hard. I can't enter this thing. It's embarrassing. Emma looked at the car and back at her. Come on, Caroline, there's nothing wrong with it. It's old, yes, but it's not that bad. Caroline folded her arms. I'm not entering that. Emma sighed. Please, let's just go. It's about the person, not the car. After a long minute, Caroline finally agreed. She picked up her small purse, rolled her eyes, and followed Emma out. They entered the car without saying much. Alex smiled politely. Hi, ladies. You both look great. Thanks, Emma said kindly. Caroline barely mumbled a reply. Alex didn't notice. He was focused on giving them a good time. He drove them to a quiet, cozy restaurant. Not expensive, but neat and peaceful. They walked inside and sat at a table near the window. A waiter came by with a notepad. Good afternoon. What would you like to order? Alex smiled. Just a plate of rice and a bottle of water, please. Caroline raised her hand and leaned back in her chair. I'll have a plate of rice, grilled chicken, grilled fish, a side of salad, and your most expensive wine. Emma blinked in shock. She turned to Caroline and whispered, This is too much. Caroline ignored her and added dessert to the order. Emma kept it simple. Just rice and water for me, she said. Alex tried to hide his reaction. He looked at Caroline's long list and forced a smile. When the food arrived, they all ate. The mood was quiet. Emma noticed that Alex was being careful with how much he ate. She could tell something wasn't right. After the meal, the waiter brought the bill. Alex opened his wallet and started counting the cash he had brought along. His heart sank. It wasn't enough. He leaned close to Caroline and whispered, Please, I'm short. Can you help me with just a little to complete the bill? Caroline's face twisted with disgust. You brought us out knowing you didn't have enough money, she said loudly. Emma's eyes widened. She pinched Caroline under the table. Stop it, she whispered angrily. You're embarrassing him. Alex looked down in shame. People at the next table had heard. Emma quickly opened her bag and pulled out some folded bills. She tried to hand it to Caroline under the table. Take it, she whispered. Just give it to him. Please. Caroline looked away and folded her arms. No. Emma sighed and leaned across the table. Alex, she said gently, my friend said I should give this to you. Alex hesitated, then took the money and whispered, Thank you. He added it to his own cash and quietly paid the bill. No one said much as they walked outside. Alex forced a smile as they got back in the car. He started the engine. The car coughed and shook a bit, but it moved. On the drive home, they passed through a busy intersection. As Alex slowed to make a turn, a white luxury car pulled up beside them and honked loudly. Beep, beep. Caroline turned. The driver, a tall man with sunglasses and a gold chain, lowered his window and smiled at her. Hey, pretty, he said with confidence. Can I talk to you? Caroline smiled. She didn't even look at Alex. Hold on, she said to Emma. She stepped out of the car and walked over to the man. They spoke for a few minutes. Caroline laughed once or twice, flipped her hair, and finally took out her phone. They exchanged numbers right there, while Alex sat quietly in his car, watching through the rearview mirror. When Caroline returned, she didn't say a word about it. Thanks for the outing, she muttered, sounding unimpressed. Emma said, Thank you so much, Alex. I had a nice time. Alex nodded and drove them home in silence. When he dropped them off, Caroline walked away without even a goodbye. Emma stayed back. What you did back there, she said softly to Caroline, was not okay. Caroline rolled her eyes. What? He's a grown man. If you can't afford an outing, don't offer one. Emma shook her head. You embarrassed him. You humiliated him over food. Then gave your number to a stranger right in front of him. That was low. Caroline shrugged. Whatever. He's broke. That's not my fault. The two friends argued all the way into the house. But Emma couldn't stop thinking about Alex's face. How hard he tried. How embarrassed he was. How quiet he became. And how behind that quiet face, there was a man still healing. And someone was about to push him past his limit. Months passed. Even after the awkward restaurant outing, Alex and Caroline continued to talk. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was loneliness. But Alex still tried to believe in something good between them. They texted. They called. They met a few times. He thought they were growing closer, learning more about each other, step by step. Caroline didn't always treat him warmly, but Alex ignored the signs. He wanted to believe she just needed time. Maybe she'd change. Maybe she'd see past his simple life and into his heart. Then one sunny afternoon, Alex went to visit her at home. They sat on her small couch. She sipped juice and scrolled through her phone while he nervously picked at his fingers, thinking. He looked at her and spoke from the heart. "Caroline," he said softly, "if I ask you to marry me one day, would you say yes?" Caroline stopped. She looked at him slowly. Then suddenly, she burst into loud laughter. "Marry you?" she said, laughing even harder. "Like this? The way you are?" Alex's heart sank. He blinked, unsure if she was joking. "I don't blame you," she said, standing up. "I blame myself for even talking to you, for allowing you into my house. You're just a broke, poor thing." Her words hit like fire. Alex didn't move. He sat still, feeling something inside him crack. Just then, Emma walked in from the next room. She had overheard the shouting. "What's going on?" Emma asked, looking between the two. Caroline folded her arms. "Can you believe this poor man is asking me to marry him?" Emma looked shocked. "Is that why you're yelling like this?" "Caroline, what's so wrong about that? What's so bad about marrying him?" "Then go and marry him yourself." Caroline snapped. "If you like him so much, take him. I'm not stopping you." Emma looked at Alex. His eyes were glossy. His face was empty, but his heart was clearly breaking. "I would marry him," Emma said firmly, "if he has interest in me." Caroline smirked. "Does he even have a choice?" she sneered. "Stop it, Caroline," Emma said sharply. "Enough." Emma walked over and sat close to Alex. Her voice softened. "Alex, please don't listen to her. I'm sorry. I know her words hurt, but don't let them destroy your heart." Alex looked up slowly. "Do you think anyone could truly love me the way I am?" Emma smiled gently. "Yes, Alex. Many women would. You're a kind, handsome man. You have a good heart. That matters more than money." He stared at her. "Would you?" he asked in a low voice. "Would you build a life with me, a family?" Emma swallowed. She paused. "I would have said yes," she whispered, "if I knew you truly had interest in me." "I do," Alex said quickly. "From the day we went out. I did. I just didn't want to come between you and your friend." Caroline rolled her eyes. "You both can go ahead. I'm not interested. Go ahead and date. Marry. Do whatever. I don't care." She gave a fake smile and walked to the window. Just then, a white luxury car pulled up outside. The engine purred like a lion. It was smooth. Expensive. The door opened, and Mark stepped out, the same rich man Caroline met on the day of the outing. He held shopping bags, designer clothes, shoes, perfumes, shiny boxes. "Baby, I'm here," he called. Caroline screamed in joy. "Mark," she rushed to the door, hugged him, and started opening the bags right there. Mark looked inside the room and saw Alex sitting beside Emma. "What's going on here?" he asked with a smirk. Caroline laughed, flipping her hair. "Can you believe this poor guy is asking for my hand in marriage?" Mark burst into laughter. "This one? This cheap thing?" he mocked, pointing at Alex. "He doesn't even know his level. Look at him. So broke, so basic." Alex lowered his eyes. The pain was deep, but he stayed quiet. But Emma, she had had enough. She stood up quickly and faced Mark. "I don't care how much money you have," she said in a firm voice. "You don't get to insult someone in my presence, especially not him." Mark raised a brow. "And who are you?" "Someone who values people by their heart, not their wallet," Emma snapped. "Unlike you two." The room went silent. Caroline looked embarrassed for a second, but quickly grabbed her purse. "Let's go, Mark," she said, dragging him by the arm. "These people are not on our level." They stormed out together, laughing, as if nothing had happened. Alex sat there, broken, humiliated, but still holding onto the last pieces of his pride. Emma sat back down beside him. She touched his hand gently. "You don't deserve this," she said. "You deserve love. Real love." Alex turned to her, his eyes full of tears. "And you," he whispered. "You're the first person who's made me feel seen." Emma smiled faintly. And in that quiet, painful moment, something stronger than words passed between them. Something real. From that day when Caroline walked out with Mark, something inside Alex changed. He stopped looking back, and he started looking at Emma, really looking. Her kindness, her strength, her honesty. She had stood by him when he had nothing. She defended him when he was humiliated, and she never asked for anything in return. Over time, they grew close, very close. They laughed together, talked late into the night. Emma would surprise him with small gifts, a new shirt, a simple wristwatch, snacks he liked. She even loaned him money when he needed it, never once asking when he'd pay it back. And she loved him deeply, even when he had no car, even when his shoes were worn out, even when others walked past him without a glance. Emma stood beside him. Their love grew like a quiet fire, strong, deep, pure. But what Emma didn't know was that Alex had been hiding a big secret all along. One evening, Alex called Emma. "Hey," he said softly, "I want to take you out. Please dress nicely. I'll come pick you up." "Okay," Emma said, smiling. "What's the occasion?" "You'll see," Alex replied. The day finally came. Emma wore her best dress, a soft peach gown, simple but elegant. She brushed her hair, applied a little makeup, and waited patiently in front of her house. A soft breeze blew. The sun was just setting. Then, the ground began to vibrate slightly. Vroom, vroom. From down the road, a long line of expensive black SUVs and sleek luxury cars drove in slowly like a royal parade. Emma stood frozen. They were polished, shining. Guards in black suits sat inside some. Flags waved gently on the hoods. People from the neighborhood came outside, watching in shock. "Who are they looking for?" someone whispered. The car stopped right in front of Emma's gate. The door of the first car opened, and a man in a black suit stepped out. A bodyguard. He walked over and opened the back door slowly. Out stepped Alex, wearing a dark blue designer suit, shiny leather shoes, a gold watch on his wrist, his hair cleanly trimmed, his cologne soft but rich. Emma's mouth fell open. "Alex," she gasped. "What's going on here?" Alex smiled gently and walked toward her. "I'm not who you think I am," he said calmly. "I'm not poor. I never was." Emma couldn't speak. "These are my cars, my staff, my security," Alex said. "I just wanted to find someone who would love me, not for my money, not for my name, but for my heart." Emma stared at him in shock, heart pounding. Before she could say another word, Alex gently took her hand. "Come with me," he said softly. Still speechless, Emma nodded. He opened the car door for her like a gentleman. She stepped inside, and he followed. The driver shut the door, and the convoy began to move. Inside the car, Emma was full of questions. She turned to him, her voice shaking. "You mean you're rich? You're not a houseboy? Or a helper?" Alex chuckled gently. "No, Emma. I own companies. I just chose to live simply to protect my heart." "But why?" she asked. "Why pretend all this time?" "I had to be sure," he said. "I've been betrayed before. You remember Caroline. She only wanted money. But you gave me your heart when I had nothing." Emma looked away, trying to take it all in. "Where are we going now?" she asked, her voice soft. Alex smiled. "You'll know when we get there." They pulled into a large hotel driveway, a luxurious five-star restaurant built into a modern glass building. The lighting was golden, the doors tall and grand. As they stepped out, staff lined up at the entrance and bowed slightly. "Welcome, Mr. Alex," they greeted. Emma looked around, stunned. "They know your name?" Alex smiled. "I own part of this place." Her jaw dropped. He held her hand and led her gently through the front doors. The lobby was sparkling with lights. A grand piano played softly in the background. Waiters in white gloves stood ready. They walked through a gold-trimmed passage that led into a private hall, decorated with chandeliers, roses, and a glowing sign on the wall. The hall was quiet, elegant, and filled with only a few carefully invited guests, which one of them was Caroline and Mark. Every table was dressed in white and gold. Expensive flowers stood tall in crystal vases. Emma looked around, stunned. She had never been in a place this beautiful before. But as they stepped deeper into the room, Caroline's eyes locked on them from across the hall. She gasped. "Is that Alex?" she whispered. "And Emma?" Mark looked up from his glass of wine. "What are they doing here?" she asked again, this time louder. "Who invited that poor guy to a place like this?" Mark leaned back in his chair, watching carefully. Caroline folded her arms. "And who gave him that kind of suit? It must be borrowed. This can't be real." Mark chuckled but didn't reply. Alex and Emma continued walking straight to the front, toward the stage. Emma still looked confused. She squeezed Alex's hand gently. "Alex, what is this? What's happening?" she asked in a whisper. "You'll see," Alex said with a smile. Just then, Mark stood up from his seat and began walking toward the stage. Caroline followed quickly behind him, her high heels tapping loudly across the floor. When they reached the stage, Mark gave Alex a small, respectful bow and said, "Good evening, boss." Emma turned her head sharply. "Boss." Caroline blinked. Wait, what did you just say? Mark smiled politely. I said, good evening, boss. Caroline laughed awkwardly. Boss? You're calling him boss? Mark turned to her with calm eyes. Yes, he's my boss. Caroline's face twisted in confusion. I thought you were rich. I work for him, Mark said plainly. I'm one of his drivers. It felt like the room went silent. Caroline's mouth dropped open. You mean you're not the owner of that white car? She asked slowly, her voice shaking. No, Mark replied. That's one of his cars. He owns many. Caroline staggered back a little. Emma stood frozen, trying to understand what she had just heard. Mark continued. He only asked me to act like I was wealthy, to test you, to see who you really were. Caroline's hand covered her mouth. Her face turned pale. You used me? She asked Alex, her voice cracking. You set me up? Alex turned and looked her in the eye for the first time. I gave you a chance, he said simply. All I wanted was to see if you'd love someone who had nothing. But you showed your heart. Caroline blinked back tears. So, all this time, you were pretending to be poor? Alex nodded. I was tired of fake love. I wanted something real. I wanted someone who would stand by me, not for money, but for me. Caroline looked at Mark, then back at Alex, then at Emma. Her hands shook. Her voice dropped low. I made a mistake, she said. I didn't know. If I knew. But that's the point, Alex cut in. You shouldn't have to know how much someone has before you treat them with kindness. Caroline's legs felt weak. She slowly sat down on the edge of the stage. Emma was still staring, speechless. She turned to Alex. You planned all this. Alex took both her hands gently. Yes, he said, but not to hurt you. I did it to find someone true. And I found you. Emma's eyes welled up with tears. Not from sadness, but from shock, and something deeper. You really meant everything? She asked. Alex smiled warmly. Emma, you gave me your heart when I had nothing. You treated me like gold when I looked like dust. Caroline sat frozen in her chair, her hands trembling. She looked up at Alex, then slowly stood and walked closer to him. Her voice was low, shaky, and full of regret. Alex, she whispered. I'm sorry. I messed up. But we can still fix this. We can go back to how things were. Alex turned to her. His eyes were calm, his heart steady. It's too late, Caroline, he said gently. I waited for you to see me for who I am, but you never did. Caroline's lips parted, but no words came out. Right then, Alex turned to Emma, took a deep breath, and slowly knelt down on one knee. Gasps echoed around the hall. Emma covered her mouth in shock. Alex pulled out a black velvet box and opened it. Inside sat a sparkling diamond ring, beautiful and bright under the golden lights. Emma, Alex said, voice steady, please marry me. Let's build a family together. One built on love, not lies. Emma's heart raced. Her hands trembled. She was speechless. But before she could respond, Caroline screamed. No, don't do this, she shouted, stepping forward. Emma, please, remember, he came for me first. He was my boyfriend. Say no. Please don't do this to me. Emma looked at Caroline with sad eyes. I'm sorry, Caroline, she said softly. But I'm already in love. He didn't choose me because you rejected him. He chose me because I loved him when he had nothing. Tears rolled down Caroline's cheeks. Emma turned to Alex and reached out her hand. Yes, she whispered. I will marry you. The hall erupted in cheers. The crowd clapped. Some guests stood on their feet with joy. Alex gently slid the ring onto Emma's finger, then stood and pulled her into a tight hug. They kissed, wrapped in each other's arms, surrounded by love and applause. But Caroline snapped. No, she screamed. She grabbed the edge of a nearby table and pulled it down, knocking wine glasses and a bottle of red wine to the floor with a loud crash. Broken glass scattered everywhere. She picked up a chair and tried to throw it, but before she could go further, security guards rushed in. Two large men grabbed her arms as she fought and kicked. Let go of me, she screamed. You don't know what you're doing. Ma'am, please calm down, one of the guards said. Take her outside, the hotel manager ordered. Now. The guards pulled her out as she screamed and struggled. The crowd watched silently, shocked by the scene. Call the cleaner, someone said from the back. This place is a mess. A moment later, the door opened. A young woman walked in quietly, wearing a faded apron and carrying a mop and a bucket. Her hair was tied back. Her eyes looked tired. Her clothes were worn. She looked nothing like someone who belonged in a place this grand. She walked slowly toward the broken glass and spilled wine. Then she looked up and froze. "Alex," she said in a soft, trembling voice. Alex turned around. The room went silent again. His eyes widened. Lucy. It was her. His ex-fiancée. The one who betrayed him. The one who planned to marry him and steal his wealth. The one who left him broken. But now, she looked like a shadow of her former self. Her face was pale. Her eyes had deep, tired circles under them. Her once glowing skin was dull and dry. Her hands were shaky. She looked older, much older than her age. She looked like someone who had lived through years of pain. She slowly dropped the mop. The bucket of water shook in her hand. She stared at Alex, her lips trembling. Then, without saying another word, she turned and ran out of the hall, her apron flapping behind her. Her face was red with shame, tears falling as she disappeared down the hallway. Emma turned to Alex, confused. "Who was that?" she asked. Alex watched the door where Lucy had run through, then turned back to Emma. "She doesn't matter anymore," he said softly. "All that matters now is you." Emma smiled. Her heart was full. They hugged again, tightly, like nothing else in the world existed. And in that quiet moment, after all the heartbreak, betrayal, and pain, Alex finally felt whole. Where are you watching from? Don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe.